I'm going into senior year of college and I've honestly never felt further behind my peers ever. If something doesn't work, you just keep trying something else. And I think if you pretend for long enough, you start to bridge the gap. I don't feel that the quality of our connection has really suffered from that. Hi, welcome to the unscripted hour. Happy whatever day it is for you. As you can see, I don't have Bahar or Maryam with me today, but we just haven't done an episode in a while, so I thought, why not? And I have a lot to share, I guess. Not really. We'll see. I'm going into senior year of college and I've honestly never felt further behind my peers ever. I'm the kind of girl who always is ready for class, the kind of girl who aces every class she takes. I'm the kind of girl who's super into academics, and I sort of plan out my life years before I even get there, but this year really threw me in for a loop. I really had to remind myself progress isn't linear and it's okay. And step one is acknowledging that you're behind and taking steps to sort of make sure that you're where you need to be. This summer has sort of served as that for me. I look absolutely horrendous right now, but I really have just been working. When I'm not working, I'm working on other projects. I think the feeling of being behind is kind of universal, but at the same time, it's just, I think I reached a certain point where it felt like all that I was trying to do was futile. It wasn't worth it anymore. I felt I'd fallen so far behind that my efforts were in vain and that I would never catch up. But that's never true. I think I've always been a small bursts of energy person rather than continuous lapse, and I'm trying to change that about myself. I read The Flinch by Julia Smith, and I was reminded that everything I do is under my control. So I'm trying to focus on creating cycles of change rather than bursts of energy that get a project or two done but then leave my being abandoned for weeks or even months at a time. I've also realized how strong my imposter syndrome is. Even with things that I know how to do, I just don't feel like I'm qualified enough. I feel that if I can do it, then so must everyone else. I think the biggest indicator of that for me was a friend called, asked me to help him with something. The next day, I had to redo their entire MVP, but they won a hackathon, and my first reaction was, really? I was so surprised. Eventually, I sort of told myself, oh, it must be because they pitched it really well. It must be X and Y. I can never feel like I deserve to be in a room sometimes, and I have realized that that's just something I need to work on, because fake it till you make it is a thing, but no one talks about making it and then feeling like you faked it. I haven't even made it in that sense at all, but I do feel like I'm faking it a lot of the time. A lot of my friends regard me as someone that they look up to, or someone who's quote unquote the smartest in the group, and I really do not perceive myself that way, especially because the people around me are so intelligent, they're so well versed, they're so grounded, they're so well rounded, they have socially and by societal expectations of merit proven themselves, and I feel that to a certain extent I have yet to do that for myself. But all smiles looking forward. I'm really a gold medalist when it comes to imposter syndrome Olympics. I truly have no idea where it comes from, but I lack confidence in a lot of things until I've coherently made some sort of result and know that I can do it, which is not the best trait to have. I really wish I had that fake it till you make it mentality, and I'm trying to adopt it as time moves on. But I think more so what's helping me is the concept that you're never ready. You just end up jumping even when you're not ready, and usually that is what causes results, because you meet yourself halfway. You obviously can't bluff about having your entire life figured out when you don't, but if you pretend for long enough, you start to bridge the gap, and I think we don't talk about that enough. Faking it till you make it only works if you only fake a certain amount that you can realistically get to, and it speeds up the process because you have built-in pressure. I still don't think faking it until you make it is really a good or ethical approach, but it beats imposter syndrome for sure. I think another thing I'm getting over this summer is fear of failure. I've always been someone that had a backup plan for a backup plan, and sometimes the reason you need backup plans is because you're spending so much time thinking about what would happen if your main plan failed. The problem with that is you don't devote enough of your time and energy and your focus to that thing because you're too worried about what would happen if it failed. Let it fail. Everyone learns something from failure. By avoiding failure, I have actively missed out a lot of learning opportunities. I only do things if the risk is something I feel I can afford. As of late, I'm starting to take more and more risks. The more that I fail, the more that I learn. So truly, it is just missing out for the most part. I don't know. I've been apart from my main core friend group for a while now, and I think it's also made me realize that the connections that you keep inside your life, or the connections that you really retain throughout your life, are strongly, strongly intentional, especially as we grow up and we move away and we start to drift apart in the natural course of things. You don't have excuses to see each other. You don't see each other at school every day. You don't see each other at university. You don't have the other extracurricular that keeps you together. You have to actively prioritize people in your life and make time to talk to them when you're busy chasing one thing or the other. When you put time into those relationships, you really start to realize that it's less about how much time you spend and more about how you spend that time. I don't know. I feel like I'm away from my friends, and they definitely spend more time with other people than we do. But I don't feel that the quality of our connection has really suffered from that. And that is something that I was really concerned about, especially as someone who didn't really retain a lot of friendships growing up. I just realized there's like a rug above me. There's a bunch of books. There's cereal in the background. I'm holding a Bohr Systems card, but I don't know. It's just, I felt like if I did like a super polished background, it wouldn't be accurate to what I'm really going through right now. I spend nights at Founders Inc. most of the time falling asleep there with someone or other reminding me to wake up before someone finds me, and sort of deciding which events to go to be honest. I think the tech scene in SF is so crazy. Like, there's mixers and parties and hackathons, and it's just how much of it is productive and how much of it is just taking me away from the actual process of creation. Because for the first time in a while, I feel that I am creating more than I'm consuming, and it's one of the freest things in the world. Not to say that consuming content is bad, but I think that when you get stuck in a loop of that's all you do, and creation doesn't have to be just content. I've actually reduced a lot of the social content that I've been producing for a hot second now. I more so mean when you're creating things in your life, whether that be drones, robots, projects. And I also think that there's a certain, you need to learn how to handle rejection as well. I, for example, signed up for the YC hackathon. Kind of my fault. I did register maybe 24-ish hours before the actual start of the hackathon because I was under the impression that I'd be in a team, but they didn't accept me. I got an email at 11 p.m. saying there's 10 spots left, DM me if you really, really want it, and I didn't see it on time, and by the time I saw it, the spots were taken up. I went online and I signed up for a hackathon that is tomorrow. So I think it's really become a process of if something doesn't work, you just keep trying something else. And I think the thing with tutorial hell and just life in general is that we really have gotten used to some sort of roadmap, some sort of step-by-step thing to follow. But sometimes life isn't like that. Sometimes you need to figure it out for yourself. What works for, this is so tacky and so cliche, but what works for another person won't work for you. I think that's more so in the sense of big things. Like, if you want to become a billionaire right now, you can't really follow Elon Musk's formula for it because that's what he used and now he exists. So you're not going to trump him by using him and his own ideas. You can still use the process and sort of figure out a good, coherent roadmap for yourself. And that's what I've been trying to do all summer. No one really talks about the panic of senior year where you realize that you really just had this cover during university for 4 years. Well, I had it for 3 years. No one really questions what you're doing because you're in university, but we are supposed to be refining certain skills, and unfortunately, university just doesn't really cut it alone anymore. You need to be working on your own skills coherently along with your studies. I've always been a lifelong learner. I love studying, I love learning, but unfortunately, I've never been the type of person who directs it towards something specific. One day I'll be obsessed with ancient runes, the next day I'm into cryptography, and just last week I was researching things like new CERN discoveries or some just random thing that I read that reminded me of some other topic, and I go way too deep into it to a level that never needed to be. And I think I'm reaching the point where I need to focus on something and go deep in one thing that's going to be valuable. As someone in tech, I can admit that I'm actually super terrified of artificial intelligence. I truly do think everyone around me is panicked and in a daze because of it. I was always a full stack girl. I don't think developers will be taken over by AI just because when I use it, AI is really not that smart. It does feel to me like there's a certain uncertainty that maybe people that were growing up even 5, 6 years before us didn't really have to deal with. With every sphere or everything that I start learning now, I really do have to question, is this something that's going to be retained? Is this something that is going to be a valuable skill for me? And part of that is because I was behind. I can't afford to lose time on interests I have that just won't pay off for me in the next year or 2 to 3 years. This summer, I finally actually understood the concept of touching grass. I used to be the type of person that was like, just listen to music, just get it out of your system, whatever. No, you really do need to stare at a sunset. I'm going to insert a picture of a sunset that I watched for like a solid 15 minutes, just raw dogged it. No music, no phone, no nothing. I really needed the time because your brain, when you're doing just high volume things for a while, really does overload. One of my guilty pleasures is the summer I turned pretty. I really wanted to watch that this year, but usually I use it as some sort of reward for doing things, and unfortunately my brain just isn't at a place where it can truly appreciate stuff like that after hours and hours of hardcore things. So I finally understand the concept of touching grass. I do agree. We need to touch grass. I think AI should scare everybody. And I know that everyone is like talking about how it's a tool for innovation. It makes everything so much easier. And cars once replaced donkeys, and machinery replaced the factory worker, and we were all fine. But there was certain beauty that we lost. We lost people who specialize in extremely niche things, welding or like making a certain type of silk. And we really don't have those as professions at all anymore. As time goes on, we're gonna lose that. And it seems so weird to me how in other spheres other than tech, the last 20 to 50 years have really been not as revolutionary as you would think. And I'm just like, how has tech moved so exponentially in a certain sense, whereas other fields haven't? And it's really because people fund tech. I've always known going into IT that this was a sphere where I would have to continuously be learning and continuously adapting. And so, as much as I hate artificial intelligence, I do use it because I do need to stay competitive. I need to know how to employ it, I need to know how to utilize it effectively, especially in short term things like 0 to MVP, in hackathons, in situations where you really need it to be quick and you're not focusing on quality as much. I think it works, but I don't know. I really don't know. And a lot of this boils down to I don't know. And I think that's something that I'm learning to say more. I really used to use I don't know as some sort of red cautionary tape that I'm dumb and I don't know, but I don't. I don't know. And nothing is going to change that unless I learn. I say I don't know and I soak up the information. There's nothing more valuable than being the dumbest person in the room. If I've learned one thing this summer, it's that being the dumbest in the room enables you to learn so much more. You're no longer concerned about coming off as dumb because you know you are. And all you can go is up because everyone around you is so smart. The only thing you can do really is soak up their knowledge, preferably in larger volume, but I also think I'm really redefining success. I've been around a lot of startup founders, and I think that really affects the way I perceived big tech companies and sort of fang, mang, whatever you want to call it. And I think the tech scene bubble has been bursted for me a little bit. A YC company recently invited me to their house party. It's just really disheartening. sometimes to see people who have funding be using it on things like house parties and quote unquote networking, where people just really get drunk and high and drink medication to then show up to work the next morning. To me, I think success is starting more and more to look like a lifestyle than it is coherent metrics. Obviously, it still gets to me. I still meet a Mang engineer that got their new grad, with the nice 200K salaries. You do question, like, hey, maybe a really big regret I have is maybe I should have studied in the US. I did get into, like US universities. I had every opportunity to study here, and at the time, it really felt like the best thing for me was going back to my home country. And I did end up doing that. But at a certain point, I think the fear of missing out becomes opportunity cost. And when you're staring at it right in the face, it can really get to you sometimes. But, IT, luckily for me, is one of those spheres where the output that you're making matters a lot more than the name of the university on your resume. And so I'm trying to build up that facet of myself so that I can stay competitive in whatever I decide to apply to. But regardless, I think so many startup founders are ex-FANG. They've done things within these big companies and they really talk about the bureaucracy and how slow it is and how it's so much better to work in a startup. And I think it's really made me realize a lot of the startup people that I meet, especially solo founders, have a really strict, some sort of workout regimen. They have 2 hours that they're working on their project. A lot of them stay 12, 3, 4 a.m. into the night and really grind on their startup at night and throughout the day. And I think that sort of dedication is just, I'm sure people in FANG have it too, but I think to me, success has started becoming more and more about the way that you carry yourself, the way that the energy that you give off, and sort of the life that you decide to lead. For me, success has started to look more and more like conscious action and setting your life up for long term success, whether that be academically, whether that be emotionally or physically or professionally. I think whenever you're doing something consistently in rotation, going to the gym, working on one niche thing for 2 hours a day, I really do think that that is one of my biggest indicators of success now. I know that those things naturally lead to societal measures of success, but not always in my new definition of success. It is less dependent on extraneous things that do not depend on you. And I think that to me, it is a continuous process. You don't get one thing done and then now you're successful in the way that I've previously defined success or the way society has previously defined success for me. And so I am trying my best to sort of fit into that. It is hard to build habits in the summer, but I'm slowly building up towards it. And I think every single day I wake up and I try to do better than I did yesterday. And that's all I can really ask of myself. My father has always talked very passionately about compound interest and how putting an hour to a day towards something tangible will always garner more results than sprints. And for the first time in my life, this is when I'm kind of like, yeah, that does make sense. And I see it in practice. I'm trying to remove my habit of being a bursts person. I still do bursts, but I try to not let that be in exchange for my daily consistency. I try to have it be a top off, if you will. I'm 20, I'm 19, I'm 20. Adulting is really, it's not fun. It's not fun paying for groceries or toiletries or um I don't know. I had to renew my passport. I had to get my social security number fixed. I had to finally get my license for adulting. I don't know. I'm really trying to put my life together. 16-year-old me would be crying. She really did have bigger plans and bigger goals for me, I think, than I ended up doing right now. The biggest thing for me right now is I can acknowledge that I'm in the position that I'm in. And the great thing about that is it can only go up from here. I'm trying to really hone in to the fact that it's a lot better to do something really badly, really trashy way, in a really not the best execution wise type of way, than it is to not do it at all. I think that this summer I really remembered how it felt to be 11, to be 12, because when I was 11, 12, when something didn't work, I just kept going and I just kept playing around with it. And I think as we grow up, we sort of set mental limitations for ourselves. And I am really trying to break through those mentally right now for myself, because I will try certain things and I'll be like, actually, I can't do that. Why can't I do that? Why not? This is the first year I've ever done hardware stuff. And it baffles me the things you can do with a Raspberry Pi. And like, I'm currently working on, actually, I don't think I can say that, I signed an NDA. I've been working on a lot of hardware things, and it really is just a process of learning. I forgot that I really think it took me going into a newer field where I am a complete newbie, relatively speaking, to be able to remember that it's okay to fail and sort of try things, and not everything is by the playbook. I think college and high school set me into that trap, and I really do wish that I maybe made different choices in that regard. But I'm here. All the decisions I've made have led me to this point. I don't know, it's just so freeing in a certain way, in a certain sense, to sort of say, hey, I screwed up. I'm behind. And now I'm gonna put in the work that it takes to get back on track. I also realize I look terrible in this video, but unlike most videos where I look like that, I'm not gonna apologize. One of the best things about coming back to San Francisco is I rarely wear any makeup anymore. Frankly, I don't have time. I am recording this at like 11 p.m. It's 11:25 p.m. I don't know if you can see that. Should be sleeping. I have hackathon tomorrow. But really, I've started viewing certain things as an extraneous waste of time. And sure, makeup makes me feel better. People perceive me as prettier, whatever it may be, but that was also a really freeing aspect for me. I don't think I really wear makeup, quote unquote, for myself the way most people do. It does make me feel better once in a while, but my daily ritual of applying something on my face is not really correlated with my self-worth meaning. And I think on the contrary, it really did tie my idea of self-worth and the way other people treated me to my looks. And now that I really arguably do not look very presentable most of the time in terms of like makeup, I have a lot of acne. I don't have the perfect skin, and that's okay. My hair isn't always perfect, but people are still nice to me and people still value my ideas. And I think that has been freeing to me in a way where I really put myself in a box of having to do that every single day. And now I have so much more free time to consume content, to make content, to learn. And I don't think that's something I'll completely eradicate. Obviously, I still wear makeup for certain events, or for, like, to be honest, places where people take pictures. It's so freeing. It's so liberating to not be tied down by what I think people perceiving me visually is going to affect their treatment of me or the way that they perceive me. I don't care. I really do. People are still nice to me, and people still respect me, and people still value my ideas, and they still want to talk to me and discuss, even if I look who I look right now. And that's how it always should be and has been. I just created something in my head where I needed to look a certain way, and I don't want to do that anymore. I also think that I have this certain illusion about things where if I view something as unattainable for myself, I will immediately put the person who has that on a pedestal and view them as so much smarter than me, and view them as so much more accomplished. And sometimes it will even affect how I ask for things. Like, I ask for advice from a lot of people, and sometimes I've caught myself not doing that because I really look up to these people and I don't want them to perceive me in an X and Y way. But it's really not that deep. And the more that I talk to people that I perceived as super complex and people that I couldn't possibly match, I'm realizing that everyone's human. all of them are human. They put a certain amount of time and energy and effort into their craft. And the more that I do that, the closer that I become to emulating these people that I look up to and want to be like. I'm in love with the process of learning, and I think I just need to channel that into something that garners better immediate results. So, this summer has really been about optimizing for that. I'm part of a startup, I'm interning, I'm doing my own project, and then trying to apply to new grad roles, trying to figure life out. And I really do feel that ticking time clock. I'm a senior in college. My book tastes have changed. Gosh, this video is all over the place. Complexity is the killer of progress. I used to not understand my dad's. Everything goes back to my dad. My dad is a really smart guy, as you can tell, because it took me my entire life to understand like 2 or 3 things he's taught me, and there's so much more that I probably won't understand until I'm 30, 40, 50, 60, however old I may be. Anyways, I've met a lot of really cool people who are staggeringly different, so hopefully I can join their ranks in the next 2, 3 years. Simple life is one of the fastest routes to success in a certain sense, because repetition is simple, when routine is simple, but those are the things that set you up for long-term success, or even the way I perceive success. And I think that I really regard myself as more of a complex person. I'm a writer, I'm dramatic, I like to think of myself as multifaceted, even though I do tend to be a little one dimensional. If you are extremely dense in one aspect and you go narrow and deep, you tend to have a lot more success being successful. Great wording. You just tend to be a lot deeper in your field and a lot better at it than most people, because you devoted so much time and energy and you were laser focused on this one thing. I'm also learning how to let people go for the 50 bajillionth time in a row. I mean, people drift apart. Sometimes you're just not in the correct life stage to be close to each other, and it's gonna sound like, come on, but if they don't want to be in your life, it's not worth keeping them. Like, it really is not. And maybe at some point you will drift back together. I think I'm at a point in my life where everyone is really focused on their career, everyone is really focused on their family, and we just don't have a lot of extraneous time for social things that often. But sometimes I just see the different people that I could be so clearly in my mind, and I get severe fear of missing out and sort of like regret not going that way. I think I had this when I was writing college essays. I really have taken my life in 50 bajillion different directions, and I'm trying to narrow it in right now. I ended up going very broad and not very deep. There's just so much out there. The more that I learn, the more I realize that I'm really, really dumb. I want to learn more. I want to learn more about neuroscience. I want to learn more chemistry. I want to learn more biology. I want to learn more tech. I want to really learn like system design. I want to get into machine learning. I want to learn more about not just AI agents. I really want to understand like ML. I want to understand neural networking. I want to understand how certain algorithms work, like the way I perceive TikTok's algorithm versus Instagram's algorithm. I want to understand I want to know so much. I want to know statistics, I want to know data science. I want to understand everything, and it physically angers me that I can't really do that. I don't know, it just feels like in the modern age where we have AI and we have so much time we have so much disposable time, I want to know everything. And unfortunately, I'm reaching a point where I'm getting to the age where I really need to start specializing and narrowing. I'm getting to the age where I need to start specializing and narrowing it in. I've already cut out podcasts. I've cut out a lot of books that just aren't relevant to my field right now. I've started to optimize my life to get to a certain end goal. I think this is where depression comes from. It's from when you don't have an end goal, but you have so much excessive potential and energy. Channeling your energy into something that you really want to do will always, always pay off in the long run. I just would say all these networking events, I realize that none of it really helps, you know. I don't think it helps in my humble opinion. I think you're better off spending your time making yourself someone valuable that people want to reach out to rather than spending all your time reaching out to people and meeting people. Ultimately, if you build yourself and really work on yourself enough that you are a lot stronger than you once were, people will naturally come to you. We live in an age where technology makes everyone accessible. So, I don't think that I'm so tired. I should head to bed. Every day, I just wake up and try to remind myself progress isn't linear, and if I keep making daily, little by little efforts, I'm gonna see it compound and I'm gonna see results. But we're really trying to make our KPIs. I'm trying to make my performance indicators and sort of my progress goals dependent on me and not like external metrics. So usually that will look like I did 5 workouts in a week, I burned 500 calories 5 days in the week, etc. I did 3 lead codes each day. Something very tangible, but that is completely under my control. Unless things like I got the Google internship, I got the Meta internship, I got the, I don't know, Amazon deal. I'm also trying to get into the business side of things, which I've always been a lot more adept with business, so sales type things than I have with computer technology just because I feel that I'm actually not a very technical person. I just got into it. I have an intense and growing urge to not become one with nature. That's kind of cringe. I more so just really have the intense urge to go to bodies of water. I love animals. I don't know, the more time goes on, I just want to do those things more. I started crying right now. I'm not depressed or sad or anything like that. I think I just start stress crying. This entire video, my shirt is really big, so I look really wide, but that goes into the territory of I told myself I wouldn't care, so I'm not gonna care. Being apart from people really showcases their value to you, and it also shows you who hangs out with you and talks to you because they want to talk to you and who does it because you're close and convenient and proximity wise you make sense the most. So if you guys ever want to find out who your circumstantial friends are, I highly recommend flying across the country. This is not a diss at any of my friends. I'm starting to tired cry at this point, so I'm gonna call it a day. I hope you guys have an amazing whatever day it is for you. And if you like the style of video, let me know. Maybe I'll do more before I get back. But thank you. Love you guys. Thank you for watching the unscripted hour, even though this wasn't an hour. I don't know, man. I'm so tired. At the end of the day, it's about what you did when everyone else was doing nothing. At the end of the day, it's what you did when you were really tired but still had the last feature to update before you turned it in. At the end of the day, it's about all the work that you put in. At the end of the day, it's about seeing the fruits of your labor. At the end of the day, it's about realizing that we're just a tiny human on a little speck in this gigantic universe that has a small little, galaxy. And within that galaxy, there's a tiny little solar system with Earth, which is not even the biggest planet in the solar system, let alone the galaxy. And on this Earth, I don't even take up a third of the land. I just live in a super duper tiny country where maybe things don't always go the way I want them to go. But actually, I know people are like, oh, Malika finally remembered she had a podcast, did the podcast. I'm not gonna lie, my computer broke and I had to fix it. So that did actually contribute to getting a new video because right now my computer's charging. I did fix it. It's working fine. That is how we got here. See you in the next video. Hopefully with maryam and Bahar. I just took a DNA test. Turns out I'm 100% falling asleep. I did get a new phone. That's not relevant. I did start a Substack. I just think that I've been using alternative intelligence. What? We're not talking about my brother right now. Artificial intelligence is something that I needed to use on a daily basis, because now job interviews are going to require you to use a certain large language model and implement features end to end. In terms of saving time and sort of doing quick interview style process things, we've shortened down the time. How I get the distinct feeling that they're interviewing each other, but whatever. That's California for you. Overthinking, you see homeless people on the street and immediately know where you don't want to go, and that puts a fire under you so that you have even more pressure than you already had, and you have to figure things out because, it's your life. You have no other options. As Mark Twain once said, if you want to learn how to swim, you gotta burn the boats. And I wanted a software engineering job, and I did indeed burn the ropes. The ropes? I burned the boats. Okay, I'm tired. I'm gonna cock out. Have an amazing whatever day it is for you. I love you. See you in the next. I was like, oh, I don't care what people think about me anymore. Oh, looks don't matter. Blah 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 blah. Fixed my hair the entire video. I look terrible. Haven't given a close up of my face because I'm breaking out. But I can't be bothered. Okay, I'm working on it. I promise. I'm working on it. So this is my little setup. There's the rug. There's the books. I don't even know what that is. Oh, that's a towel. That's an iPad. That's cereal. Those are my clothes. This is my bed. So, yeah, from California, San Francisco. I guess this isn't live anymore, but I appreciate you guys watching my video out of all the other 50 bajillion thousand videos on the internet that you could have watched. Truly, I appreciate it. I hope I'm going to see Maryam and Bahar very soon, and I hope you have an amazing whatever day is for you. Love you. Bye. And if you have connections and you can get me into YC, or you can, I don't know, get me like a fake diploma from Harvard. Hello there, suits. Hit me up at Malakal on Instagram. I'm kidding. She tastes just like candy. So dance with me. She tastes just like candy. We so passed the Bechdel test, guys. Not that I have a love life you guys could talk about, but whatever.